All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to FutureProof TV. I'm Courtney McKenzie Newell of Crowns Marketing and Communications, bestselling author of FutureProof. And tonight we are going to be talking about consults create cash. Consults create cash. Now, for the people who may not know who I am, I work specifically with entrepreneurs and executives, as well as Fortune 1000 companies, to help them future-proof their businesses and brands, leveraging media and new media technology. So tonight, we're going to be talking about consults that create cash. This is specifically for those of you who are in the B2B space and why it's so important to make sure that we have a pipeline of customers. So we have a pipeline full of people who are ready to work with us is because you never know what's going to happen, right? Anything can happen. Your customers may need to switch services. They may not be able to afford you. Situations like a pandemic may arise, and you may find yourself with not enough clients and customers to be able to essentially future-proof your business and make sure that you are able to keep your team employed and also make sure that you're able to make the comfortable living that you deserve. So I want to talk to you guys about my 4-step method, really 5 steps on how you can create more consultations in your business. I'm going to share with you why it's important. And I'm going to share with you these 4 steps. They're super simple, but sometimes the simplest things are the things that we need reminders of. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing, consultations are the name of the game in my business because my business is all around done for you services. We work with a lot of large corporations, and it's really important to make sure that we constantly have a pipeline of customers who, one, know about us. And even if they're not necessarily ready to do business with us, they at least are familiar with the brand. They know that we're the best in the market. And when they're ready, they're going to think of us. Right. And so there's this whole awareness campaign that is really at the forefront of the consults, but not just awareness for awareness, right? Like not just getting on Instagram and not just getting on YouTube and not just doing all this stuff for no reason, but really more importantly, to make sure that you are specific in your messaging and in your targeting. So let's talk about how you can make sure that you are really being intentional about your time and the messaging that you're putting out there. So the first thing is you want to have targeted outreach. Targeted outreach is so important because, I always say if you're talking to everyone, no one is listening, right? And so it's like if you're standing in the middle of Times Square with a bullhorn and you're just saying, hey, open for business, no one's actually going to pay attention to you because they're just living their own lives, right? They have their own stuff going on. But if you're really specific and you say, hey, Fortune 100 companies, or hey, people who are interested in going vegan, or whatever your market is, what ends up happening is you start to get people's attention. So when you're really intentional about who you're talking to in that targeted outreach, that's when you'll truly be able to really see the fruits of your labor, right? And so with targeted outreach, there are a few things that I'm going to share with you tonight that you can really make sure that you are being intentional about who you're targeting. The first thing is what I like to call ICP, and that's your ideal customer profile. Ideal customer profiles are like really stage 1. Whenever we're working with a new company, whenever we're working with a client, we always make sure they do an assessment so that we can find out and really get to know who they believe their ideal customer profile, like who fits their ideal customer profile. So and a lot of times I will tell you, a lot of times people aren't as specific as they can be. And I want you to go as deep as possible. Really think about your day in the life of your customer. And I talk about this in my book, FutureProof, about really making sure that you're thinking about what is my customer thinking? What are some of the challenges that they're having? What are some big decisions that they're going to have to make every single day? And when you're able to think about it from that perspective, that's when you can really understand why they buy, what they buy, how frequently they buy it, and things that they don't necessarily even know that they need. But you know that if you presented it to them, they would say, oh my gosh, I totally need that. That happens to me all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I needed that. But now that I know that that's a solution, I need it. So let me go ahead and pull out my credit card. And that's what you want for your business, whether you're B2B or B2C. You definitely want to make sure that you have that in mind. So first and foremost is really getting crystal clear on your ideal customer profile. Okay. The second thing that I always like to do is I like to partner with centers of influence. And the reason why partnering with centers of influences are important or is important is because when it's way more effective using what I like to call OPA, which is other people's authority. Okay. And other people's authority is important because think about Forbes, for example. And I was just featured on Forbes last week. Okay. Being on Forbes really allowed me to leverage their authority and people seeing me on their platform and saying, hey, I need this solution or I need this service. It automatically makes you credible. So if you partner with a center of influence, so let's go over some examples of what centers of influences are. That could be if you are someone who's trying to work with attorneys, the center of influence would be a law association. If you are someone who's interested in working with medical professionals, partnering with your local medical society, those things like that. If you are someone who's interested in working with marketers, then partnering with, American Marketing Association. So different things like that, but just really partnering with those organizations and knowing, hey, they have thousands of my ideal customers. And if I partner with them, then I can like tenfold my business. And also I can have them put me in front of their target customers. I mean, in front of their audience. And a lot of times people are like, well, why would they do that? Well, one, these societies, all these associations, they are in a position to want to serve their clients, who are the people who pay to be in their organizations and their societies. So if you partner with them, a few things happen. One, you're providing a ton of value to them for their audience. And two, you are able to provide some people who are in your target demographic. One, they now get to know who you are, but two, you're able to really serve them in a way that is important to do, right? That's the whole business. That's the whole reason you're in business, is to serve. So partnering with those centers of influences is super important, and something that I don't see enough people doing that, and something that is very important. It's something that I do at least once a month. So that's definitely another way to make sure that you're really filling your pipeline full of people who are interested in what you have to offer. The next thing is when you partner with, so once you have your ideal customer profile, once you have partnered with, you've identified these centers of influence, next I want you to think about how you can provide value. This is not about you. It's not about, hey, I'm trying to sell my latest iPhone case. So let me go in there about that. No. That's not what this is. I want you to think about it from almost a lunch and learn perspective. And I hate the term lunch and learns. It's like so outdated, but back in the day, not that I'm really that old, but people always say lunch and learns. And really all it is where you have a captive audience, and typically it's over lunch and you're just providing value. Think about what some of their pain points are. So remember back in point number 1, where I talked about the ideal customer profile, if you are thinking about your customers and what their pain points are, you can come up with some things that you can help serve them, or ways that you can help serve them. And so what I always like to say when people are stuck on, well, I don't really know exactly how I can provide enough value, I always say, well, what are some of the most commonly asked questions or frequently asked questions that people have? For someone who is a vegan chef, you might have, well, how do I go vegan? Like, is it really hard? Do you miss eating pizza? Like all those different questions. That can be a way that you provide value. If you are in the healthcare space, then you want to think about things like that. If you're in the events planning space, you want to think about how you can provide value that way. And a lot of times it can come from those frequently asked questions and putting a training around that. The whole goal here is 1, building awareness, but 2, also building that credibility as, hey, this person really knows their stuff, right? If people are looking for stuff, they want to know that if they're going to work with you, that you're credible. You're not just going to, take their money and not be able to deliver, right? And they also want to know that you will provide a ton of value because you truly are the go-to expert. So typically people will look on YouTube, they'll ask their friends on Facebook for recommendations. But if you can get out in front of them, especially partnering with a center of influence, then you will be the go-to expert in their mind. And if you make it a pattern or a strategy to make sure that you're constantly touching base with them, I'm going to share with you how you can do that really easy in a second. Then you will be that go-to expert for them. You'll be the only person that they think of when it comes time for them to get whatever service or product it is that you are providing. All right. So provide that value. Okay. So that's number 3. Number 4 is having a really strong call to action. Strong calls to action. Calls to action are so important because if people won't take action if you're not giving them direction. So if you just say, all right, guys, that was great. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. They're going to say, I don't have any questions. Thank you. That was great. Bye-bye. And you're going to just be like, oh my gosh, I just spent all this time and all this effort and those were my ideal people, but I missed the opportunity. So you want to make sure that you have it set up. So when it comes to creating that relationship with them and that rapport, that you have a strong call to action. Now, typically that call to action is going to be another way for you to provide a ton of value. So typically that will be, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure that you head over to my website, or make sure that you join my challenge, or make sure that you book a call with someone from my team so that we can help you with a strategy. So all of those things are strong calls to action, and you want to make sure that you weave it into the value that you're providing, because that's going to really be the way that it's not just presented to them at the end, especially if some people have to leave early, but you want to make sure that you have that kind of weaved in throughout, that you're going to have a special bonus or a special offer for them. Really, really, really important to do. All right. And then once you have that strong call to action, and guys, sometimes you have to test this out. It's not like a one size fits all. Some people, their call to action is join my challenge, and that works well. Other people, it's book a call with someone from my team. Other times it's, hey, download my free ebook. So there's a ton of different ways to do this. I literally have a list of over 101 ways or calls to action. And I'll share that in another FutureProof TV episode. But those call to actions, I want you to play around with them. Don't be married to anyone. It's not, you want to make sure that you try a few different ones so that you know which one converts the best for you. And then last, well, I guess not last, but the next step, once you have that call to action, is you want to do your best to get people on the phone. If you're selling a small, now I was specifically talking today to those of you who are in the B2C space or in the B2B space, but this also goes for B2C. If you can get somebody on the phone, you will be more likely to be able to close them. Now, virtually, what I always like to do is I like to set up Zoom meetings. So every single day, I am on Zoom calls with potential clients and customers. And that's the way that we're communicating. I don't know how soon. I know Florida, we are now essentially the epicenter of this COVID virus. And so no one's going out anytime soon. So get really comfortable with having those consults via phone, or more importantly, having them via Zoom or via live stream. It just makes it that much more personable. People feel like they can have that two-way communication, and it just makes everything a lot easier. Now, I will say lately, the ones that I've had this week, I've had a lot of technical issues, not on my end, but on the people who I'm talking to's end. So it's just me staring at a black screen and them looking at me, and I'm like, it's all good. No problem. So you really want to get comfortable with that, but you want to make sure that you get people on the phone or get them on a video chat. And that's going to really be how you are able to close them. So I said in the beginning, consults create cash. You have to be thinking about, how can I get all these consults? And I will tell you, if you partner with those centers of influence where you can really go directly to your target demographic, that is how you are going to be able to get in front of your audience. This doesn't require any money. It does require effort, right? It does require some creativity with coming up with what your call to action is going to be and what your training and what your value is going to be. But you want to make sure that you have that in mind and in place. Hold on one second. So first thing, again, let's do a quick recap. 1, ICP, okay? Ideal customer profile. Think about your customer. What's the first thing they think about when they get out of bed? What's the last thing they think about before they go to bed? And everything in between. Are they working late? Are they thinking about, do I take the train or do I take the bus? Are they driving themselves? You know, all these different things you want to think about when you're thinking about your ideal customer profile. Next, partner with centers of influence. Get really clear on who those centers of influences are, because they're going to be different for every single person. Next thing, number 3, is provide value. Partner with those centers of influence, and then you want to provide value. That can be a free training. That can be a discount program. I mean, there's so many different ways to partner, and that's for B2B and B2C. But partner with them, provide a ton of value. Next, have a strong call to action. Okay, that strong call to action is going to be something that people want and that people are going to say, okay, yeah, I think that sounds good. I'm ready to take this next step, right? I'm ready to go on a date with you, essentially, is what that call to action is. And then after you have that call to action, make sure that you direct them, you give them a little bit more direction on next steps. Book a call with my team, get them on the phone, and not just an email. I think email is great, but even if you have an email sequence to nurture those people, you always want to make sure that you do your best to get them on the phone, or more importantly, get them in a two-way communication, like a Zoom, Teams, whatever one you prefer. We've probably used them all at this point. So, and then the last thing, this is my bonus tip. Okay. So I went over my 5, but this is my bonus tip. The bonus one is to offer limited time bonuses. So one thing that we do a lot in my business is we'll do like a complimentary photo shoot for clients. We'll do complimentary, I mean, we don't do this anymore, but back in the day, we would do like, for a year-long contract, we would throw in a website design. I mean, there's so many different things, and you have to do what works best for your business, but you always having those limited time offers, those bonus offers, that really can most times will give people the push that they need in order to be able to feel comfortable working with you. And once you have that awareness campaign, so let's just do one more quick recap. So we have that awareness campaign, and you really want to kind of build them, have them go down the funnel. So at the top of the funnel, it's all awareness. Okay. I want as many of my target customers to know about me, know that I'm the credible expert. Next, you want to provide a ton of value. Next, you want to form that relationship, nurture them. And then at the end of that is to provide even more value, but eventually get them on the phone and close them and remind them of all the great value that they've gotten. By the time you get on the phone, guys, it shouldn't be a really difficult, a hard sell. This is not about selling. This is about inviting your customers to the party. So you want to make sure that you're doing that in a way that they feel comfortable, and you're making sure that you can actually deliver on those things that you promised. So it's all, again, starts at awareness and really bringing them down that funnel. And the way that I talked about today with with my consults create cash method, and partnering with those centers of influence, guys, that is truly how you're going to be able to have a ton of people who are ready and willing to work with you, who are excited to work with you, not just willing to work with you. It's like, I mean, anybody can be willing to work with you, but they're excited to work with you. And the way that you're going to do that is by partnering with those centers of influence. Okay. So if you guys enjoyed this episode of FutureProof TV, I want to invite you to my upcoming workshop. I have a free 5-day workshop called Monetize with Media. As many of you know, I'm a publicist and visibility coach, and we help all of our executives, Fortune 1000 clients and CEOs. We help them to be able to maximize their message, to really get their voice out there and be heard by leveraging media, but not just getting media, not just being featured on Forbes and the Today Show and all these amazing media outlets, but really helping them being able to monetize that. That's the really important part. It's great having all that visibility, but how are you actually going to monetize it? So I'm going to share with you step by step how you can do that in my free 5-day workshop. If it sounds like something that you're interested in, if you're like, I've always wanted to be on TV, I want to be featured on Forbes, I'm an expert, I have a best-selling book, or I want to have a best-selling book. If you're someone who knows that you're an expert in your space, then this training is going to be for you. And again, it's free. So if you're interested, head over to CourtneyNewell.com/workshop and you could sign up there. We have limited seats available. I really want to make sure that it's an intimate group so that I'm really able to provide a ton of value to you. So head over to CourtneyNewell.com/workshop, sign up. The class starts on Monday, July 6th. And yeah, I hope you can join me. So head over CourtneyNewell.com/workshop. And that's all I have for you guys. And I will see you on the next episode of FutureProof TV. Thank you so much for joining me. All right. Bye, guys.